Hey, what's up guys? Ken here from the Retro Toyscapades channel. In today's video, I'm going to be counting down the top 5 real Ghostbusters action figures of all time. Now this list will be covering the real Ghostbusters figures that were made specifically by Kenner Toys in the late 80s. The list is made up of my own personal choices, of course, but I do collect a lot of real Ghostbusters figures, so I will be putting in explanations as well for my choices. And of course, I want to hear from you guys as well on what your favorites are. So do comment below. And if you guys are ready, let's get to it. Now the first one on the list, and at number 5, is the last guy that you ever want to call upon if you're in trouble and you need help. The ex-cop Ghost. Now the real Ghostbusters had a lot of supporting series alongside the main toy line. One of the most popular ones was the Haunted Humans line. In this series, you had ordinary or harmless looking characters like a kindly old grandmother, a mailman, a construction worker, a garbage collector, a football player, and so on. And they all had hidden demonic features. But the ex-cop Ghost was, in my opinion, the best executed of these. He would actually turn into an entirely new action figure. The sculpt on his regular police officer mode looks good and convincing, but pressing the button on his back unleashes his hidden skeletal form. Pretty cool, right? But a hidden demonic skeletal face beneath his human one is just part of the fun. You can also take it a step further still and extend his arms and legs, revealing the bone fragments within. I mean, you guys have heard of the long arm of the law, right? Now this figure shows it to you literally. And when you're finished, you're left with one of the tallest real Ghostbusters figures ever made. You have the right to remain silent forever. Okay, coming in at number 4 is a figure from the real Ghostbusters Monsters series, Frankenstein. The series had a couple of classic movie monsters including Dracula, the Wolfman, the Mummy, the Hunchback, and a zombie. They didn't do the creature from the Black Lagoon though. I would have loved to have seen their take on that. But somehow, none of the others really captured the true feel of the characters as good as Frankenstein here. Now, Frankenstein is one of the largest and bulkiest figures ever made in the whole series, and the sculpt on his face is perfect. It captures that cartoony feel, yet also manages to translate the expression that this is really a creature of pity and can be benevolent and even possibly a good guy in some circumstances, certainly as we've seen in renditions of the character in pop culture over the years. Now his action feature is activated by pressing his legs together, and then you get him in attack mode. His jaws drop and his arms raise up, ready to strangle and choke his intended victim. It is in this moment that you realize, even though he may not necessarily be evil, Frankenstein is still not a monster that you want to mess with. Coming in at number 3, we've got ourselves Ray Stantz from the Fright Features series. Now Ray actually comes with a bunch of accessories including a handheld weapon and a ghost to capture, but these are just supporting bits. The main gimmick is in the figure itself. So pressing his right arm down causes his head, eyes, and ears to expand with an expression of alarm or surprise. Now, while the other figures in the series had very exaggerated fright features like having their mouths wide open and so on, Ray's expression of fright is much more restrained and seems very ingenious in its execution. That makes it my favorite. Plus, his flight suit and goggles make him a great pilot for Kenner's Ecto 2 vehicle. And let's not forget that huge Ghostbusters symbol on his chest. While most of the Ghostbusters symbols on the other figures were usually just smaller symbols on the uniform shoulder, this version of Ray is the only one to feature a larger version of the logo on a t-shirt right on his chest. And it just looks incredible, don't you think? Okay, now we're at number 2, and there's no way that I could do this countdown without bringing in Slimer. Now Slimer here just looks fantastic all around. The figure is made out of this soft rubbery material, but all of the paint applications still manage to come off looking terrific. Everything stands out. The green is really green, and the sculpted expression from his crazy eyes to his open mouth and exposed tongue just looks super realistic. Now I can see how they could have made Slimer a solid rubber piece with no articulation, but instead he does have some very useful articulation. Now for one, both of his arms are posable and can be moved up and down. These are great for those moments when Slimer needs to strike at something. Now he does have an articulated tail as well. The sculpt on the tail is actually really good. He kind of looks like a giant green slug. Yeah. But you could have him either floating or crawling. Now Slimer of course loves to eat, and this version of the figure came with a bunch of food accessories, including a pizza, a watermelon, and a slab of beef. For the purposes of this video, I only have the pizza, which is soft and bendable, and which you can pretend that Slimer is eating. Yeah, personally, I thought that the food pieces were pointless as there's no way for them to fit inside and stay within Slimer's mouth. You can, however, fit them in Slimer's hand by sort of squeezing them between his fingers. Now, even though I don't really think that the food accessories add much to the figure, they are, however, somewhat rare to find on the secondary market these days. You usually see a listing for a loose Slimer unit, but hardly something that comes with all the food pieces included. Now, Kenner also did another Slimer figure which had a totally different sculpt and came with a proton pack. But for my vote, this one is the better of the two. Now the interesting thing about Slimer here is that he's not even called Slimer in the toy line. The packaging just states that he's the green ghost. Anyway, he's a must get for any real Ghostbusters collection. And here we go guys, we're finally at number 1, and my personal choice for the best real Ghostbusters figure of all time. It's the Series 1 Egon Spangler. Kenner's work on the Egon sculpt is nothing short of outstanding and perfectly captures the look of his cartoon version, even going beyond. Now everything from his sculpted rounded glasses to the look of his hair and even the short ponytail on the back. This is spectacular work for a figure of this size. Plus, the expression on Egon's face is just pitch perfect. It instantly conveys knowledge, scientific assurance, and even a hint of smug arrogance in the certainty of his words. Even his height is perfectly in scale with the rest of the team. Egon is the tallest, and it shows here. Now I know that the original Series 1 Ghostbusters from Kenner are all really well rendered in action figure form. In fact, the entire set of 4 figures consisting of Egon, Winston, Peter, and Ray are all must-haves in your collection. But out of the 4, Egon is the best of them. Face it guys, this figure right here is all the animated Egon that you'll ever need. So that's the video guys, I hope you enjoyed it. And I want to know what your personal picks for the top 5 Kenner real Ghostbusters figures of all time are. So do drop me a comment below. Also, if you have any questions about the figures, leave them in the comment section below and I'll be sure to answer every one of your queries. Now before I go, I would ask also that you consider supporting the channel by subscribing so that I can keep bringing you more content like this. Now thank you, and I'll catch you guys again real soon.